So we're starting at the end of this video and we're going to backtrack. I'm going to tell you about my 1967 Evinrude Big Twin. So like I said, we're starting from the end of this video and we're going to do a fast forward recap, and I'll show you some footage towards the end of getting this thing running. But probably after this video, I'm going to try to condense down some footage I have from about 6 years ago and show y'all some of the work I did on this engine, this outboard. But I'm going to give you an overview here, and then if you want to watch those videos, you can. But I've got videos from 6 years ago, hours of videos of me working on this outboard. Now, this is, like I said, a 1967 Evinrude 40 horsepower. It's called the Big Twin. It's 2-cylinder. They're fairly lightweight, and that's why I wanted it. My Boston Whaler here, if you see, it's got the low transom, and I don't want a lot of weight on the back, because what'll happen is if you get in kind of choppy water, when you let off the throttle, sometimes, you know, you get a wake that wants to splash in, and if you get it sitting low, sometimes it'll splash over a little bit. So didn't want something super heavy on the back, and I found a good deal on this one probably 7 or 8 years ago, but the majority of the work I did 6 years ago. So I'm going to give you the quick recap, and then you can watch those other videos if you want. If not, just skip over them. So when I got this thing, got it running, I just had to clean the carburetor, put a kit in it. I think I cleaned the points, and it fired off and it ran. After I ran it for a while, I noticed I had to replace a couple of things on it, and I had some issues with fuel pump and stuff like that. We're going to skip over that. Like I said, you can go in more detail in these other videos. I'll try to condense them down to a small video instead of hours. But the more I ran it, I put a water pump in it, rebuilt the whole lower unit. I think I only reused 2 bearings in it. The rest of it's new seals, all that kind of stuff, all done. Water pump, all that's new. Did all that. When I first got it running, I just ran it for a short period of time because I wanted to get the water pump and all working. And so once I had it running longer, I noticed the engine had a noise in it, and it had a knock. And fairly certain it was either a rod bearing or a wrist pin. You get the piston in a certain point, and you could rock the crankshaft back and forth, and you could hear the noise. So at that point, you know, I was looking at either rebuilding it or going another route. And I've got this thing titled. It's in my name. I'd already done all that. Really didn't want to start from scratch because it's kind of hard to find a motor this old with a title. And here in Texas, you have to have a title for an outboard. So that was a plus to this one, and I got it really cheap. I don't remember how much. I think it was under $200 for the whole thing. Definitely under $300, and you know, it was complete. And the controls that it has work with the controls that were already on my boat. This is, like I said, this is a 1967. My boat had a 1969 25 horsepower Evinrude, and it looks much nicer. I mean, that motor looks almost like brand new. It's very clean. It matches the cleanness of this boat. And of course, this guy is sun faded and whatever, but it, you know, it is what it is. So I ordered a $100 power head off of eBay. It's a 1970 power head. You can see it's like that greenish gray bluish color that Evinrude came out with later, and or maybe it was Johnson, whatever. It's a Johnson Evinrude, But it was just the bare power head, and you know, it was as is. I got it, and once I got it in and looked at it, it had a spark plug hole stripped out. Somebody had put a long spark plug in it, and the piston hit the spark plug and it took the threads out. There's a little dimple on the piston where the spark plug hit. It didn't damage the piston. I looked it over real good because I pulled the head off of it and actually just swapped heads with my other power head. Same head, of course, just different color. And this one, the threads were just fine. So new head, or my old head, new head gaskets, this gasket and this gasket, new water pump, new plugs, new points, new condenser, and then there's these bolts all along here. There's, I think, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 or 8 on each side. And to get the lower unit off, or to do the power head, I had to take that off. And almost every single bolt broke off. And I went through, that's where I stopped on this thing 6 years ago, is the point of putting it all back together and having to deal with about 12 or 13 broken off stainless bolts in aluminum. And I just didn't want to mess with it. And I let it sit for 6 years and finally decided enough was enough. I needed to get it straightened out. So took the welder, welded nuts on them. I got all of them out except for 2, drilled one of them, and then drilled the other 2 out. And here we are. Drilled them, tapped them. One of them had to put a helicoil in. So got them all back in, new bolts in, and put Allen head bolts instead of the Phillips head screws that were in it. Stainless with never sees on the threads. And I ordered 2 new props for it, different pitches. I guessed on a pitch, seems to be pretty good. Cover that a little bit at the end of this video. Like I said, we're working backwards here, but yeah. So this is to reintroduce this project, but also to close it out. And like I said, we're doing things backwards here because we're kind of closing out this project, and then I'm going to fill in the gaps on the project. If you look way back, I think I have a video of getting this engine out of the barn where I had stored it after I bought it, and I don't remember if I did a first start on it. I may or may not have, but if I didn't, we will. And we did a first. At the end of this video, I'll put the first start of this power head. So that's it. That's wrapping this up. Yeah, so there's gonna be, I don't know if there'll be the next videos out. Like I said, I've got hours of footage I'm gonna have to sort through, so give me a little bit to sort through those and try to condense down the footage on it, and I will get those out. That'll kind of fill in the gaps on this project. But this boat is back in action. We took it fishing this morning. Engine did great. So, you know, we tried to stay kind of close just in case. And the more we ran it, the more we felt comfortable to venture a little bit further, you know, and find better fishing spots. So we'll continue to kind of do that, kind of test the waters out on it, no pun intended, and you know, enjoy it. That's what a boat's for, is for enjoyment. So take it fishing, tubing, all that kind of stuff. This motor should have plenty of horsepower to pull tubes around. So yeah, I love this boat. It's a great boat. If you don't know, it's a Boston Whaler 13, and it's a 1969 model boat. The trailer is a 69. I mean, look at this trailer. Would you guess that this trailer is a 1969 model? Look at the spare tire. This thing's been stored inside its whole life. This is a General jet rib. And it had, when I got it, it had those tires all around. And I put some tires on it 10 years ago. Like I said, but it's been stored inside, so even 10 years ago, these tires still are in great shape. All right, let's cut to the rest of this video. All right, we're close to firing up our 40 horsepower Evinrude. First time for me to hear this power head running. I had this Outboard running under the original power head, but I've never heard it run. I've never heard this $100 power head from eBay run. I was dealing with some issues with my tank and primer bulb. I had to go get a new fuel line set up. Primer bulb would not prime. It didn't have much use on it, but it was like 10 years old. So, and I went ahead and changed the fitting out here because it was leaking just a little bit with the fuel off. So we've addressed all that. I've got a battery box I need to put in here. My other one is cracked. So we're gonna put a new battery box, and I think this thing's ready to take out after all that, as long as everything goes well with firing it up. So you can't put any muffs, ear muffs on these things to run them with water. So I use a garbage can, just fill the can up with water and run it. There's just no, they suck water up from around there. There's no ports on the side of the there's no ports that you can put the muffs on to supply them with water. So we do it like this. What else? I did pick up a new battery because my old one is long gone, long dead. And I think that's it. Same tank I used before, 6-gallon tank. I've got 6 gallons of gas mixed up in it. Like I said, new primer bulb. New fuel line set up with primer bulb. I feel like these things have gone up in price. Man, it was $53 for that fuel line primer bulb with the fittings on the end. And I'm sure my fittings probably, I was questioning them anyway, how well they would seal, O-rings exposed to gasoline. And maybe at this point in time, these are better with ethanol fuel. Of course, I'm not going to run ethanol fuel in here, but maybe better quality, just able to handle fuel better anyway. So I think we're ready. I know that it'll crank over with the key, but I've now got it primed up. Our water is just now about high enough. So I'm going to set y'all up on a tripod, and we're going to see if this thing will start up. I've got the choke on auto, and yeah, I think we are ready. All right, let's see what it'll do. Our water is about to overflow. That's fine. We got it outside, we can make a mess, keep the water cool. Key on. Like I said, I've primed it. Choke. Trying. Choke again. I have no idea what the idle set at, idle mixture, none of that. We may need to make some adjustments. Let's just give it a little bit of throttle. Let's give it a little dribble of fuel and see if it likes that. So what we'll do, I'm going to take a little tie wrap and shove that in the end of the fuel thing here. And that's to open the little check ball up. And then when you prime it, and it'll shoot gas. Take that back out. So we've now primed it with some mixed fuel. Like that. Definitely have carburetor issues. All right. I think I missed something when I had it apart before. That was plugged up right there. Fairly certain it was. And that, pretty sure, is our idle circuit. There's... How much fuel do you think this thing drinks? That's the main jet. I don't know how much it meters, but I mean, that is a huge hole. But yeah, what it does, and you know, maybe it's really just that right there. Maybe that's that hole. But that one looks good. I'm gonna spray it just to be sure. But like I said, I was in here before. I cleaned this out. I just missed that jet right there. It comes up through the gasket. There's a hole in the gasket. There's a hole in the side of the bowl. I've blew that out, and so yeah. Let me finish cleaning this up, put it all back together. It's got a cork float. That's one of the reasons I run non-ethanol gas, because I think the ethanol would eat that away. So let's check it out. Let's put it all back together, go put it back on, and I think it'll run now. Of course, I forgot to set up the camera, but we've got the carburetor back together and it's idling now. I'm gonna let it run for a little bit and wait for the thermostat to open. And I'll adjust the mixture a little bit. There we go. It's running. I think I've got the mixture adjusted just about right. We were way off before, and I thought I was close, but it was just we had the throttle up so high and the mixture was off so far. It was idling, but it was idling pretty rough. And I finally backed the screw just to start over because I knew it wasn't right. Just threaded it all the way in. Ended up, you know, you got that little, there's a little half circle thing on here that attaches, but you can only get just a little bit of adjustment. It won't do a full circle. And it's made just so you get it right, and then you can do little fine-tune adjustments. I don't really like it. I threw a piece of fuel hose on here where I can adjust it however I need to. And I screw it all the way in, and of course then it idled way up, and then I started backing it out, and then I lowered the throttle, and we're adjusting now with the idle mixture. The actual throttle stop is actually cracked, so I actually pulled it off. We're running without it right now. It's a bracket that goes right in here. It's got a little plastic arm on it, and I noticed it was cracked when I started trying to adjust the idle. And so what it does, there's a little, it limits how far the plate can twist, there's a little, let me show y'all. way this works, you've got throttle here, but it's also done by the points plate for the timing. So that plate has a ramped up curve to it that this little wheel goes on. And as you give it more throttle, that wheel rolls on that plate, and it gets, the distance grows. Where it rides on that plate, it ramps up. And so as you move that plate, that wheel ends up pushing the arm this way, which gives it more throttle. Now, like I said, you've got throttle here that's direct, but there's some linkages here and stuff that tie into that. And what that throttle stop does is it limits the points plate how far it can go, and that's your idle. So right now we're running without it. I've got it about where I think I would want it, and we'll adjust the idle stop to get to this RPM. We could probably idle it down just a little bit more, but it's pretty decent right now. And our water pump's working, and our thermostat's working, so see if we can get it idle just a little bit more. That's about as low as I would want to go with it. And I don't think we want to do any more adjustment on here. We can check, but I think we're pretty good. Yeah. Didn't like that, it went lean. Yeah, and it doesn't want to start when it's that low. But once it starts, you can I don't think I would want to go any more than that. Let's see. Leave it right there. That's a repaired idle piece. So we're gonna have to do some adjustment there. I'm gonna get it to where it leaned out. Just richen it up just a hair. Really lower than it needs to idle, but I think it likes being richened up just a little bit, I think. Well, that's it. We're back. It did well. It did, when we first took off, it bogged real bad. It bogged real bad and died. Started right back up and bogged again, and it kept bogging. And so I just let it idle, thinking maybe it just needed to warm up. And then I got to thinking about the front flip cover on this thing, and that it may need to breathe. I'm sure there's some breathing built into this thing somewhere, but not as much as I've noticed on other outboards. I flipped this thing open. We're in like a top. So I don't know if it's got a air intake. I'm thinking it's under this plate, it may be plugged up, or you may be supposed to run it with that open. I don't know, but it ran with it open, no issues. Water pump worked great. The thing ran like a top. I mean, it just really did good. I didn't get my little tiny tack on there, so running, I don't know how many RPMs, but not full throttle, but I was getting 25 miles an hour out of it. It could definitely use, the prop could definitely have some more pitch, and it would handle it just fine. I've got 3 different props. I don't remember the pitch on all 3 of them, but I put the one that was kind of right in the middle. It's one that looked the best, and it was right in the middle for pitch. You know, you call not much pitch, medium pitch, a lot of pitch kind of deal. It could probably do the one with a little bit more pitch on it and be just fine. I don't know, we had 4 of us. I don't know if you got more people in it or you're pulling a tube, if it would do okay with more pitch. I think this prop is probably going to be a good all-around prop. I'm good with 25 miles an hour. I need to, like I said, I need to get a tack on it. Could probably run a little bit higher RPM. I just was running it safe, what I felt safe. It was not full throttle. So yeah, I think it's about perfect. I don't think I could ask for anything more for this thing. I think it's sized well. Like I said, 25 miles an hour is great. And you know, that's without even messing with the trim or anything. There's not much. It really needs to be trimmed more, I think. And I've got it as far out as I can get it. So I don't know. I think we'll just see how it does, and I may try another prop on it eventually, but I do plan on, you know, maybe pulling some tubes and stuff with this. So I think we're probably about where we need to be as far as props go. At 25 miles an hour with the tube is probably faster than I want to be pulling. Anyway, yeah, no other issues other than that. Boat itself did great. Trailer did great. Trailer tires were fine, even though they're like 10 years old. They've been stored inside, so did well. I just put some stable in it, and I'm about to run it. I've already hosed off the boat. It was fresh water, but I still like to flush it out with some clean water. So I've already sprayed the boat off, sprayed the inside of the boat. The only thing left is, you know, flush the motor. So I'm going to let it run, let it ingest some of that stable, and then I will disconnect the fuel from it and let it run the fuel out. That's what I normally do. And that way there's not fuel sitting in the bowl of the carburetor. But anyway, that's it for now. Thanks for watching. Leave a comment down below, hit the like button, and subscribe for more bonus footage. My keys. Keep a whistle on it. That's my horn. Fire extinguisher. I'll need to put a mirror on it for tube. But let's see. Let's give it a little bit more throttle and probably some choke. And it would sit there and just idle like this. You can put it in gear.